We are live on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. Welcome back. It is Thursday. It is October the 6th. It is 2022. And this is our October installment of Ask Nick. So this is our monthly Q&A. What's up, DJ? What's up, Lincoln? Thanks for joining. It's the first Thursday. That's what I'm doing this fall for the fall semester. First Thursdays of the month. So we're going to be having the Q&As on the first Thursday of the month, and so that's what it is. Somehow it's October already, and here we are for our next one. And what's up, Brazil? What's up, Jao? What's up, Miguel? What's up, Spencer? We've got a bunch of things to talk about, and then we'll jump into the Q&A. So if you want to drop in your questions into the comments section, I should be able to see them from Facebook, from YouTube. If you want to send them in the Instagram chat as well, that's cool. If you want to send them, I don't know, by carrier pigeon, we'll try to get them. But otherwise, put them in the comments, and we'll take care of those as they come in. But there are some things I want to talk about first, having to do with our UNT Jazz Trombone Day, because that's what's on my mind, and I want to talk about that first. And that's December 3rd, UNT's Jazz Trombone Day. And I haven't put out the official announcements yet, but since you're watching this, I'll go ahead and tell you what's happening. First of all, is that we're back again for our fourth year. And at the same time as the fourth year of the event, we have our fourth year of the International Jazz Trombone Competition, and I'm very excited about that. And we're welcoming some new sponsors, some old sponsors, some continuing sponsors, and we also are having a guest artist. So our guest artist for this year on December 3rd here at UNT for the final round of the competition and our Jazz Trombone Day here in person, as well as streamed all over the world, anywhere. Is going to be Michael Deese. And so that's going to be really fun. The UNT YouTubes are going to be performing with Michael Deese, and we're going to have our second jazz trombone group playing. We're going to be having some of our grad students playing. It's going to be a lot of fun on December 3rd. It's totally free. You should come to Denton and check it out if you play jazz trombone. And so that's happening, and I'm very pleased that we have some very awesome sponsors for this year. New sponsors include Hirschman Mutes. We're checking some of these, what is it called? Indigo Plunger, Big Blue Mutes. They're a sponsor this year. We've got Marcinkowitz Mouthpieces. If you know Marcinkowitz, it's the mouthpiece that I play. Marcinkowitz Mouthpieces. BAC Musical Instruments is back as a sponsor of the event. What's up, Panama? Thanks for joining. BAC, who was the sponsor of our very first Jazz Trombone Day. What's up, Jackson? What's up, Chuck? Thanks for joining. And who am I missing? We also, so I said Hirschman, I said Marcinkowitz. We have Butler Trombones. David Butler of Butler Trombones. Carbon Fiber Outer Slide is one of our prizes for the competition. And our BAC sponsorship, they're the presenting sponsor, and our other presenting sponsor this year is Yamaha Musical Instruments. Michael Deese is a Yamaha artist, and so that's part of that collaboration, and that's going to be awesome. There's more to come about the sponsors, more to come about the event itself, but December 3rd, mark it down. And for the competition, you've got 3 days left to get that in. I extended the deadline for the competition. That's free to enter. It's for 30 and under. So if you're 30 and under or 18 and under, there's two divisions. If you want to send in your recording, it's free. And we'll feature the 18 and under winner. They'll win a scholarship to UNT, as well as being featured on that day. And then also the three finalists will get invited to campus to play in the final round. And obviously I mentioned a whole bunch of prizes. You know, there's trombone, there's mutes, there's mouthpieces. It's going to be pretty awesome if you decide to come. So I hope you can, December 3rd. But there'll be more to come about all of those things, about the guest artists and all that stuff. But for now, I just wanted to, give the private preview to those of you that have decided to join us today on the live stream. So as usual, feel free to drop in your questions at any time through, what's up, Sean? I see you here. Drop in those questions and we'll kind of talk about whatever you all want to talk about. But I just wanted to get those announcements kind of out of the way. So if you didn't see, I had a gig at Birdland this week with a big band, so I guess I have a big band now, and it's a thing that I'm doing. And I decided to do another event in UNT in spring semester in January, and so we'll probably see a lot more to come from that project that's coming up. And some exciting things for 2024 coming up. I can't announce, but it should be pretty awesome. What's up, Jackie? Thanks for joining us. Like I said, this is our monthly now Q&A session if you're just joining us. So feel free to drop them in on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, comments, whatever you want to do, and I'm happy to chat about whatever you want. Otherwise, I'll just go on and on about whatever I want to talk about. Maybe play some trombone. Because now these are monthly sessions, so I got to get it all in one. But the next one will be the first Thursday in November, and then the first Thursday in December for the rest of this year. So if you want to mark those down, I don't have the dates offhand. I probably should, but that's what we're doing. And this weekend here in Denton is the Denton Arts and Jazz Festival. A lot of our students will be performing, so if you're in and around this area, you want to see a lot of the UNT students performing, I hope you'll be able to stop by. Applications are open for UNT. If you're a grad student or undergraduate looking to come and study trombone, we'd love to have you apply. Those applications are open until December 1st for the pre-screening, so not a huge rush just yet, but if you want to start looking at those type of things, it might be helpful to you. What's up, Rob Edwards? What's up, Casey? Thanks for joining us for our Q&A this month. And there was one other thing I wanted to talk about, and I totally have blanked on what it was. Oh, yeah, and if you didn't see last month I put out a new warm-up routine. It's called Go. It's kind of a play on all the titles of all the books that I have. Like the first book, I have some of them here, but I'm not going to pull them all. But I have like Get Ready, Get Set, and then Go, right? So I thought it was gave me a time to now delve into a new titling system after that. But it's a growth mindset warm-up. I found it to be super helpful. If you want to check it out, it's a PDF. It's on my website. I see Taylor's here. Hi, Taylor. Lincoln has a question. So, all right, so we're going to dive right into the questions. So I'll try to bounce back and forth between YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. So please leave your questions wherever you wish, and we'll try to go as fast as we can through here. All right, from Lincoln. Right now I'm on the charter bus to marching band competition. Oh, yeah. Nice. And we have a lot of fans of you here. Can you give us some motivation? Yeah, sure. Good luck. I don't know where you're, which state you're in there, Lincoln, but good luck at the marching band championships, or competition, rather. Sorry, championships is a ways away, I'm sure. Yeah, those are always fun trips when I was in high school. I did marching band too. Drum corps, all that stuff for a little while. So enjoy. Good luck. Don't blow your chops out. My one word of wisdom. Don't blow your chops out in marching band. But I mean, marching band was a really good way for me to build up endurance. So whatever you want to say about it, people are opinionated, but for me, I learned how to play for a long time at a loud volume by doing that. All right, I see some questions here. From Taylor, let's get into this. Let's get this question here. What's up, Jack? What's up, Andrew? When was the last time you felt demotivated, and how did you get yourself back up? The last time I felt demotivated was probably yesterday. How did I get myself back up? I just went to bed, and got back up, and just got back to it. This goes back to like a wider question, or a wider idea, I suppose, a wider philosophy of just being, I guess, that it's like I find like motivation and all these type of questions, it's like it's kind of irrelevant question, because to me, if you decide beforehand kind of your identity, who you are, what the types of things that you do ahead of time, the idea that you need to motivate yourself in the moment to get something done is kind of irrelevant, because you've already decided that you're a person that does a certain type of thing. Like, I'm a person that is going to get stuff done. I'm a person that is organized. I'm a person that is going to try to fight tooth and nail to make something happen. I'm the type of person that doesn't get demotivated, right? So even when I feel it, because I do, like I said yesterday, I definitely felt some frustration and I felt some demotivation yesterday based on a confluence of a bunch of things. And but I had to keep going. That's what it is. You have to keep going. And because the end goal is more important to me than that little moment of frustration, so I don't know. That's how I got out of my demotivation by having already decided the type of person that I am and what that represents, and the type of things that a person that embodies that identity would do. And so that means, if you're a musician, you're going to play music. If you're a composer, you're going to write music. If you're a writer, you're going to write. If you're a athlete, you're going to train, etc., etc., etc. So all those things kind of combine together for me to represent my daily actions, So even when it's busy and even when I get demotivated, I just get up the next day, get back to it, All right, this is a long question. Hang on a minute. I want to try to answer it, but it's not letting me put it on the screen here. Well, I can read it, though. All right, so here's the question. Comparison is taken in two different ways. People say you shouldn't compare yourself to others, while the other side thinks you should. Do you still compare yourself to other people, and how do you turn it into a healthy relationship with yourself? Well, that's a good question. That is a good question. Okay, so comparison. Do I compare myself to other people? I mean, I definitely do. I think it's human nature to do so. I guess it's how you do it and how you handle it, I suppose, that is important. So how do I handle it? That's what I'm trying to say. Like, how do I do it? Because I know that I do compare myself to other people. Like, I can play this person can play this, I can do this, they can do that. I definitely do in a certain kind of way, but it's more of like a frame of reference for like what I need to be working on, and a frame of reference for like where I want to get to, and the types of things that they do that maybe I want to replicate, or maybe they do things that I don't want to do, and so I want to make sure that I'm on a different path so that I don't go down that path, I think it's easy to get into like a negative spin cycle, but I also think it's positive, like if you're trying to play with your heroes, for example, it'll, at least for me, like motivate me to get it together, and it'll motivate me to get the technique together to execute the thing that I want to be able to do. So, I don't know. Other than that, so Tyler 199, he's also on a charter bus to a marching band competition. Any advice? Yeah, just have fun. Just, what you're supposed to do. Just do it. Don't blow your chops out. Take care of your chops, because it comes back to bite you later if you don't learn how to take care of them now. However old you might be, whatever level you might be at. You got to learn how to take care of your chops. If you want to be a performer, if you want to be a player, you got to learn how to handle that, high level of intensity. But yeah, I don't know, Taylor. That's a good question about comparison. I mean, you shouldn't compare yourself, because comparison is not going to be helpful. But it is when you compare yourself in the search of something greater, or in the search of like finding out what you need to be doing, or how your path maybe needs to be altered, or how you want to move forward. I think it's important to figure out for yourself. So yeah, what's up, Peter? How are you? Sorry, I'm trying to pull these questions back up. All right, here's another one. This one's long too. Personalities within the music community determine how you work with people and how you make judgments of the musicians you work with. What kind of personalities have you encountered working with other musicians that you want them to work on? What kind of personalities have you encountered that I want them to work on? Oh, I don't want them to do anything. I don't want anyone to do anything other than, be themselves. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different personalities, but I mean, I'm not going to tell somebody how to be or like try to tell them how I want them to be. That doesn't that doesn't make a lot of sense to me in terms of that. Or like, if you're just talking about like general personality traits that you might want to inhabit if you want to be a professional musician, which is probably a separate question. It's like you want to be professional, you want to be easygoing, easy to work with, be responsible and organized, but also like it doesn't hurt to have a free spirit, which in these things are totally separate, and it's like being an organized person doesn't necessarily make it so that you're going to be a great musician, or being a great musician doesn't mean you're going to be professional all the time. Sometimes there is a disconnect between those kind of different worlds people might live in mentally, and I think there's something to that, and having those two sides, that when you get onto the bandstand, you can just play and you can kind of loosen yourself from the grips of like, I have a video on YouTube somewhere talking about like the jail of the word should, like I should do this and I should do that. Well, it doesn't really help you to stand out amongst a crowd. And sometimes we are trying to stand out in terms of being an artist that gains recognition for their music. You want to stand out, but in terms of working, you don't want to stand out because you want to be doing the job exactly that's being asked of you, rather than, whatever it is that you think you want to do. So, it's like, it's both. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question, really. I don't know that I have a really great answer for you, but I think you have to kind of balance that for yourself. And it's like you inhabit different roles at different times, as a musician. Peter's question. Hi, Nick. When do you know you've mastered trombone? You will never know. You will never know. It's, all the great trombonists I ever knew practiced for their whole life. So, have ever known, including, Slide Hampton, all the way up until when he died, he was practicing. Steve Teray, he's still practicing. All these guys that are older than me, they're still practicing. So, I don't know. I don't think you ever master it. You just raise. I always talk about just like raising your bass line, and eventually your bass line gets to a point where it's at a high level. But I don't know that you ever really master it fully. I know you're joking, but for real though, it's a lifelong journey. All these cats on their way to marching band competition. I don't know if I have any other advice for you. Just do your job. You dig? Taylor's got lots of questions today. When was the last time you experienced burnout? Yesterday. I kind of equate all those things to the same, that are the same. Burnout, demotivation. It's all a variety, different ways of calling the same feeling to me. Maybe not for you, but yeah, I mean, yesterday. Honestly. It's tough, man. It's hard to let things go. It's hard to let them go, and I struggle with letting things go too. And when I hold on to too much conviction about things that I have no control over, I get myself in trouble. Just like in my own head, not in trouble literally, but in trouble with myself, in terms of motivation or burnout or these kind of things, You're welcome, Taylor AG. It's Taylor AG, yeah. I wish I had more advice for you. Marching band is, it's been a while, but good luck. Jackson has a question. How you doing, Jackson? We're focusing on 2-5-1 progressions at the high school I teach at. We're hitting on some snags, done the modes thing, done the leading tone thing, but it's hard to conceptualize when putting it all together. Sometimes I think, so I've evolved in my views on this particular topic. I used to be opinionated about not doing what I'm going to tell you to do, essentially. But what basically it is just basically teaching licks. But maybe going a step farther and not just teaching the lick, but teaching the construction of the lick and then making the students write their own phrases that use the tools. So in my book, it's called Get Language. It kind of breaks down a couple of things that are helpful, I think, thinking about a diatonic step and then adding in some chromatics, like some bebop scale type stuff, and then adding diminished scales and altered scales. And so you can kind of take one phrase and see how it's manipulated to get different colors. So what I would do is I would just teach them like maybe 5 licks in whatever key that you're working on it in, that go in that last 4 bars of the blues. I think sometimes there's just not enough context of the vocabulary yet, is what I've discovered, and just kind of teaching things by rote, not writing it down, but just teach it to them and have them master it in one key and not worry about transposing it yet to like a million different keys and stuff. I find it can work pretty well. You just teach them some licks. And it sounds dumb, like I'm going to teach licks, but you're not really teaching that. You're teaching like phrase construction. You're teaching like how to manipulate the phrases. That like you're going to play diatonic on the 2 chord, and then you're going to play more chromatically on the 5 chord, and then different ways to do it. And then you can say like, all right, here's our first phrases. Well, now you've got 5 that you learn. You see like, oh, how do I combine them together in different ways? So you can do the 2 chord measure from the first line, and then the 5 chord measure with this line, and then the 1 chord measure from the third one. And you can see like, okay, well, how can I connect those? So starting to actually work and manipulate with vocabulary rather than just like get tossed into the ocean of like play all this different stuff and modes and scales and things. And so I think it's kind of like a balance, because I used to think that was not a good way to learn to improvise in terms of like learning licks. But I think if you kind of are teaching a concept of like how you're manipulating this language in learning phrases and stuff, it can be useful, depending on the level. Going into like work on transcriptions might be too far. Like it might be too much to absorb. Maybe one phrase every class is something that you spend 5 minutes doing, and just think about like how many classes you have, and like, wow, you could teach them a lot of phrases that would then be able to apply to the tunes you're working on. I don't know. So maybe try that if you haven't yet. Maybe you already have. I'm not sure, but sometimes it's just so foreign of a concept. Like, how do I put this 2/5 together? It's like you need examples. So like in the improv class that I teach, I do 5 lines from Charlie Parker, 5 lines from Bud Powell, 5 lines from Dizzy Gillespie, 5 lines. Just give them JJ lines. Just give them some stuff, and then you can zoom back out again and see where people are at. It's kind of, big picture, zoom in for a little while, give them the information, and then kind of zoom back out at the end and kind of. Anyway, that's a strategy I've tried. I've seen it work with some students, so it may be helpful to you. Hope it's going well though, Jackson. Okay. Last record you listened to all the way through that you didn't like. I don't listen to records all the way through that I don't like. I am not going to waste my time at this point, because usually, let me clarify what I mean, because usually I'm listening for a purpose of like, maybe it's with the record label, trying to stay on top of what's happening and just trying to get the vibe of some stuff. So I'm not going to like listen to it all the way through. I do think it's a valuable exercise to listen to things you don't like and that you don't understand. So I'm not trying to say don't ever listen to something that you don't like, because it is useful to try to understand another perspective. What's good about it? What do people like about it? But I'm trying to think if there's something that I've listened to all the way through and then I could be like, oh, I didn't like it. Because if I get all the way through, there's something about it that's either compelling in terms of the tunes or the improvisations or the sequence of tunes or anything like that. So to me, it will have caught my interest in one way or another if I get all the way through it. But yeah, I just don't have as much time to listen to things that I don't have a purpose in listening to for. So I guess that's just I don't have a super good answer, because I'm not really doing that at this moment in my life. Not to say that's not a useful exercise at all. What's up? King Brass is here. Jeremy, what's happening? Thomas, hi. I saw some things here. I saw something from, sorry, I'm scrolling back. Peter's got a question. Apart from trombone fundamentals, is there anything you've been working on with regards to jazz that I've been working on, including feel, style, fluency, language, etc.? Yeah, I mean, I feel like the thing that I'm always working on is finding the best way to articulate what I do instinctively or what I've worked on that can make it clear to someone else. And so that's more of a teaching thing, but the thing it's like I find like the clearer I am at teaching something, the more I understand how to do it for myself, So for me, there's a lot of things that I explain and are not clear yet, and I'm still trying to figure out what is a way to actually explain it that's more clear. For example, one thing that I do that's very unclear, and I haven't figured out a way to clearly articulate to other people and my students especially, and I had a hard time understanding as a student when I started investing in it, was like changing slide technique and maybe adjusting slide technique to match the style of playing that you're doing. Because the mechanics of like trying to explain like, no, I need you to turn your wrist this way and then move it this way. It's like, it's really hard when you've trained yourself to play a certain way and to untrain, retrain, all that kind of stuff. So that's something I'm trying to figure out for myself, like a better balance of how to explain those things. I'm always working on clarity. I would say above all else, clarity, and that includes clarity of thought, clarity of ideas, clarity of language, clarity of fundamentals, sound, articulation, flexibility. And I've been working on the same stuff for like forever, and I feel like it's still not really completely into my playing, which is these basically like taking melodic cells from music or melodic cells like from, sorry, I'm playing mentally on the piano, like 0157, 0257, these kind of things. I've been practicing these shapes for a long time, and I still feel like there's more to explore there. I've been on a mission of exploring hexatonic scales, because everyone plays pentatonic scales. A hexatonic scale would be like, D major and E flat major. Put those two together and you've got a hexatonic scale. Where can I use that? What does it sound like? How can I recombine it? Same thing with like E flat major and F major. I mean, basically it sounds like something else, right? But it's like, it doesn't have a seventh because it's only 6 notes. So you might phrase it differently. And different combinations beyond that. So if you play like F and B major, right? That doesn't share any notes, but then sometimes if they do share notes, then it becomes a weird pentatonic scale. So anyway, that's one thing that I've been thinking about, but it's kind of nerdy. So I don't know if anyone else cares really, but that's only because I get bored with what I'm playing. Like that you play enough. This is something like I noticed in some players that I really respect that. At a certain point, it seems like they start playing the same tunes and kind of sounding the same for a while. Not all players, like not everyone, but that I'm like, man, like how do you? Because I find myself, I'm like, oh, I'm in that place where now I'm just like sounding the same, at least in my mind, and I'm like, what do I need to do to kind of break myself out of this? Just play what I know works, and to get back to that like exploring kind of mentality. And so there's things that I have on my list, that I'm like, want to get better at, which is like modes of harmonic major, modes of harmonic major, the hexatonic thing, and applications of those 0257 and 0157 sounds, and just getting them. I've talked about this in videos before, but like I've been shedding like tritone pairs. People play triad pairs, but I'm doing like tritone pairs. And being able to play those fluidly. Like there's a lot of stuff that's just really hard to execute on the trombone that I want to be able to do. And they're just like random ideas. What would happen if I did that? But I also have some projects in mind that I'm working on. And I got to get music organized for. So I'm like bouncing all over. I don't know, man. Yeah, that's great. What's up, Joe Giordano? How are you, man? It's hard. It can be hard to find something new that really gets you excited. And I find things that I get excited about, but then I lose, just like anyone else, like I lose excitement about it because I get like just distracted, by something else. I'm like, oh, I got to do this. And now that includes responsibilities of a lot of things. So like, I don't have the time to just sit at the piano and just be like, what happens if I do this? I did write out a bunch of stuff that I want to practice, but it's like, when am I going to get to it? I don't know, but I'm going to get to it eventually. And yeah, man. So I hope you're good, Joe. Jack. Opinions on background noise when practicing, i.e. having TV on or Instagram live on in the background, etc. Because you're practicing right now and watching. That's what I'm guessing. Okay, so this is probably something that, different people say this, different opinions about this, I guess, but I don't find that it's that problematic to do if you're working on specific things and if you don't do it all the time. If you do it all the time, yeah, I know you said meant live, not love. If you do it all the time, it's probably not healthy. But if you're working on things that you need to get into your muscle memory, I find that having a distraction actually helps you realize when it's actually in your muscle memory. Because if you're distracted, there's no way you can execute it. You're trying to execute it without thinking. So if you can't execute it without thinking, i.e. paying attention to something else, whether it's Instagram or YouTube or whatever, then you actually don't have it in your muscle memory. If you know what I mean. So like if you're trying to do that sort of practice, I don't find any issue really with doing that. But if you're trying to work on sound and you've got something else on, that's kind of not really going to help you. So for me, it just depends on what you're doing. What you're working on. If I'm like working on an etude or transcription, I don't know that I could have another thing on and feel like I was being very effective. But I think there's a time and a place, and I think that, like, for example, if you're going to watch something, like if I know a lot of people that like watch baseball games and practice, right? I'm not going to like throw people under the bus, but I know many trombone players that that would be, that would be something that they do. And like, it's like if you're going to sit there and watch the game or whatever, like you might as well be doing something also productive at the same time because you're just sitting there. Might as well play some notes, right? Even if it's with a practice mute and you're just shedding some scales or something. I don't find it to be that problematic. So, but only for specific context, all right, let's see what else is in here. The questions coming in. I'm sorry, I'm not going to get to all these, Taylor. I see a lot of them in here. Let's go over to YouTube or Facebook, make sure we're not missing anything. But yeah, if you're just joining us now, we've been answering questions for about half an hour. So feel free to drop them in. We're doing these once a month, first Thursday in October, November, December. So you can come back if you like, or you think of something else. I was doing them every week, but it was just getting a little bit overwhelming for me. So trying to be a little bit more balanced. And so that's what we're doing. We're moving to once a month. So you can check that out. If you haven't, I've seen, this is something exciting. I'm going to get to these questions here, but yeah, less with technique and less focused practice like scales and lines. Yeah, for sure. I've been working with a former student to do some transcriptions and post those on social media and YouTube and stuff. So I think we've put out 3 so far. If you're interested in that sort of thing, transcriptions, PDFs and stuff. There's one of Maria from a live video. There's one of Conception, which is kind of old, from 2015. And there's one of Maria, Conception, and a tune from Cast of Characters called Sorcerer is a Myth. So if you want to check, if you're looking for things to just practice or get a different perspective on language or whatever, check that out. But all right, so I got maybe like 7 minutes here, so I'm going to try to get as many of these questions answered as I can. Okay, how do you try and get rid of mental clutter when you're practicing or when you're about to practice? How do you get rid of mental clutter? Well, Steve Teray used to do this in lessons. Like he could tell, and I can tell too in myself now after training myself a little bit to train. He would have me play something, and then he could tell when I would lost my focus. And so he kind of trained me to like make sure that I'm bringing my focus back to what I'm actually playing and what I'm actually doing. So it's just like meditation. If you've ever done meditation and you know, like, okay, focus on the breath, focusing on the breath, and then your mind wanders, and then they say, oh, just bring your mind back to the breath. It's the same, exactly the same. And you train yourself to bring your attention back to the music, or bring your attention back to the thing that you're doing, the playing. Obviously, like if you're practicing, you're watching a game, and then you're playing, and then you're paying attention to that. Oh, I got to bring my attention back here. But being able to do that repeatedly builds up that skill, right? So once it's going, once, you know, you got to be, yeah, you said mindful practice. Yeah. Like you can't just like go, you got to pay attention to what you're doing, you know. It's very easy to sit there and go through the motions, but pay attention to what you're doing, you know, for short bursts of time. That means for some people, that's can only be 10 or 15 minutes. So again, like, I don't think it's a one size fits all situation. You, as a person, got to figure out what works for you in terms of developing as a musician, to how long to practice, when to practice. I was telling a student this week, like, okay, well, so for example, if you're doing a transcription and you're getting behind on it and you're feeling stressed, if you wait to cram to a day before or 2 days, I'm going to spend all day the day before my lesson shedding this, you've lost already. Like there's no chance. There's no chance you're going to get that together. It takes your brain too long to process that transcription, to really play it well. At least mine, maybe not yours. Maybe you're cool. Maybe you're way faster than me, and that's amazing. But I'm just saying, in my experience, it takes a few days at least to kind of get comfortable with the transcription. So you got to back up and you got to plan ahead and learn a little bit at a time. And then it's like, okay, also, when do you do it? So if we're just thinking about transcribing as the example, when do I do it in the day? When do I do it in my practice? It's like, okay, well, if I'm in the middle of shedding a bunch of technique and then I just shift gears all of a sudden and I'm going to focus on this transcription and then I stop and then I go, I have to go to class and I have to do this and that and that. It's not going to be as effective as if you're in a mental space where you're like, I'm going to learn this. And then you stop and then you do something unrelated. You know, if you read a little bit about like learning theory and stuff like that, you'll find that whatever you're thinking about like before you go to bed kind of keeps processing in your mind. What's up, Lucas? It keeps processing in your mind as you go to bed and as you sleep, and your brain starts to work out those problems. So if you're doing transcription right before you go to bed, or learning tunes right before you go to bed, or as the last thing that you're doing before you decompress and go to bed, and then you think about, all right, what was I practicing? Think about it again. Like, it actually is really effective, for me at least, in terms of remembering, in terms of learning it faster. But that's all with knowing that like it's gonna take more than a day. Like there's no chance. Like you just have to be honest with yourself. Like this is two things, right? There's short-term memory and long-term memory. And you can learn something, you can develop your short-term memory to learn it really quick. And somebody plays you something, you play it back to them. That's a skill you learn as a musician. Just doing gigs and stuff, you learn how to do that. But then the long-term memory, and we know what that is, right? So that you can remember this tune forever. But there's this medium thing. Like everything, it just disappears, right? It's like if you try to learn a transcription and then the next day you're like, I can't remember it at all. It's because it never went from the short term to the long term. So when you're trying to move it from one place to the other inside of your brain. So you got to like find a mechanism to do that. And that means repetition over time for me. I don't know. Anyway, I went on a whole diatribe using that thing. Get off my soapbox. It has nothing to do with mental clutter, but it does have to do with being organized and mindful about your practice and knowing that things are not going to happen like this. Like I'm saying, I'm literally practicing the same thing that I learned in 2009, and I'm still practicing it. Does that mean I'm inefficient? Probably, but like, it takes a long time for things to get into your playing, and it just takes a long time, you know? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, what's up, John? Good to hear from you. When you're preparing for specific gigs, do you chart out your plan of learning tunes? That's a good question. I know like Bob Reynolds posts like he's got a whole thing with a whiteboard and learning tunes for Snarky Puppy and all this kind of stuff. I I don't think I'm quite as organized as him as it comes to coming up with a system for doing that. I think he has a good system. So I would send you over there to his system. But yeah, I always do the hardest stuff first, or the longest stuff first, or the most complicated stuff first, because that's going to take me the longest to learn. That's a kick that I've been on for a while now. Do the hardest thing first. Do the thing I don't want to do first in my day. And that could be musical or non-musical. Doing the hardest thing first in my practice. Doing the hardest thing first all the time. And just like do the hardest thing first. And then everything else is easy. And you've kind of cleared the way. Cleared the cobwebs out. And everything else is downhill from there. But yeah, if you've got like a lot of tunes to learn, then yeah, you got to do it. You got to be aware of how you learn. You can't just cram and expect it's all going to stay there. At Eastman, here's a good question. Oh, it's not pulling up. Let me try it again. At Eastman, what was the hardest thing you tried to work on as an undergrad? How long did it take you to fully master? I don't think I've ever mastered these things. It won't show up. That question won't change. But how long did it take you to fully master, and what were you practicing? First of all, I was practicing trombone first all the time. I was practicing fundamentals, because you want to be able to. My definition of flexibility is like you have to be able to play what you need to play when you need to play it. So trombone always comes first, because if I can't express myself on trombone, I got no chance. And I said a bunch of things I've been practicing that are from 2009, which is when I finished at Eastman, which is a bunch of things. And so if I was you, Taylor, I know you're in school now, make a binder. I have a binder. Or no, it's under my desk somewhere. Yeah, it's right there. A binder of everything I wanted to learn. It's still in the binder. And every once in a while I have time, like, what was I thinking about? And I go back and I say, oh, I actually learned that. Oh, I learned that. Or now I know that. So make a binder, put stuff in it, and you'll get to it eventually. You'll get to it when you get to it. Don't stress. 20 tunes over 3 weeks. Nice. There you go. 3 tunes a day, and you got it. 2 tunes a day. Using the Bob Reynolds method. Nice. Great. That's what I'm saying. Bob Reynolds has a method. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I just learned the hardest things first. That's what I do. All right, I'm going to kind of wrap it up here. So if you've got any other questions, feel free to put them here. If there's something that can't wait, always feel free to send me an email. I see there's a lot of other questions about things, a variety of things, but we can get those next time. So the next time, I can even tell you the date. If you're watching this in between now and November of 2022, the next live stream will be on Thursday, November the 3rd. What time did I? Yeah, same time, which is 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central. And we'll just hang out and talk about jazz, trombone, music, etc., and we'll have updates on Jazz Trombone Day and a lot of things. I might even have the finalists picked out for the Jazz Trombone Day by that date. So if you're a trombonist, make sure you're sending in your tapes. They're due on October the 10th now. Extended the deadline by 1 week. So get those in. Can't wait. Thanks for being here. Love you all. And we'll catch you next time.